My girlfriend cheated and said she could replace me. I smiled and told her to try. Then she found out I was dating, the model she hated, and her jealous meltdown destroyed her circle. I could trade you for someone hotter tonight, my girlfriend said after I caught her cheating. I just smiled and said, then let's find out. She called me insecure right up until she learned I was dating the high school model she had secretly hated for years. And by the time her jealousy finally exploded, her entire circle turned against her. My girlfriend cheated, swore I would never find someone like her again, and honestly believed I was just going to sit there and take it. I did not. I dumped her, rebuilt my life, moved on, and somehow that made her and her little crew angrier than the cheating ever made me. But before all of that happened, I need to go back to the beginning. I saw a post on Reddit recently about a guy whose girlfriend was openly cheating and acting like it was no big deal, and it dragged me right back to everything that happened about a year ago. It started the fall before last. I am writing this a little over a year after I kicked Nora out of my life. I met her on a serious dating app. I was 33. She was 30. We texted until 2 in the morning for weeks before I finally asked her out. And I will be honest, Nora was gorgeous. Not just cute, not just pretty, but the kind of attractive that made people turn their heads in restaurants. I am not ugly. I stay in shape, I make good money as an industrial designer, and I have always been comfortable with myself. But Nora had options, and she knew it. Our first date was at an Italian place downtown. We talked for 3 hours, she kissed me first, and within a month we were official. On the surface, everything looked great, but the attention she got from other men never stopped, and she always made sure I knew about it. She would tell me stories about guys hitting on her like she was testing me, waiting to see if I would get jealous. About 4 months in, we were having one of those late-night conversations couples have when the room is dark and everything feels more honest. Somehow, the topic of hall passes came up. That silly hypothetical where each person names a celebrity they would be allowed to sleep with if the chance ever came up. I said Jennifer Lawrence. Maybe. She said Ryan Gosling. Then she added something I never forgot. I don't think there are many celebrities who would actually say no to me, though. She said it completely seriously. Not playful, not joking, not flirting. She genuinely believed she could have anyone she wanted. I laughed it off in the moment because that felt easier. But the comment stayed in my head for days. It was the first real flag. It was not confidence. It was entitlement. It was the way she said it, like rules applied to other people, but not to her. About a month later, we had dinner with some of her friends. There was Olivia, divorced and bitter in that way, where every sentence sounded like it had a hidden complaint inside it. There was Natasha, who seemed to live for drama, and there was Maeve, who ran a lifestyle Instagram account with around 30,000 followers and acted like that made her a public figure. They were tight, and from the second I sat down, they treated me like I should be grateful Nora had brought me into the room. Olivia asked what I did for work. When I said I was an industrial designer, she smiled and said, "That sounds stable." It was obvious that stable meant boring. Natasha asked how we met. When I told her it was through a dating app, she laughed and said, "Wait, you swiped on her?" That's bold. Like it was funny that I thought I had a shot. Nora laughed along with them. Later, in the car, I told her I did not love the way they talked to me. She waved it off immediately. It's not that deep. They're just teasing. I stayed quiet, but I knew it was not teasing. Her friends had decided I was beneath her, and Nora had decided that was fine. After that, things stayed smooth on the surface, but I started noticing small things. She angled her phone away from me more often. She backtracked when I asked simple questions about work. Her stories started having little inconsistencies in them. Then the late nights started. Nora worked as an event coordinator for a hospitality company, and normally she was home by 6 or 6:30. We would make dinner, watch something, talk about our day, normal couple stuff. Then, one week in October, everything shifted. The first night she came home at 7:30 and said there had been a client issue. That made sense. The second night it was 8 because of a catering problem. The third night it was 8:15 because of traffic. By the fourth night, I noticed the pattern. Her explanations were getting vaguer. Before, if work ran late, she would give me every detail. Now I got surface-level excuses, lost track of time, got stuck talking to a vendor, had a last-minute thing. And whenever I asked anything more, she got defensive. Why are you asking so many questions? Do you not trust me? So I backed off, but I did not stop paying attention. I started documenting it. Notes on my phone, dates, times, excuses, little details. 3 weeks into that pattern, she came home at 9:15 on a Wednesday, which was usually her slow day. I was sitting on the couch when she walked in, smiling down at her phone. I said, "Hey, good day?" She looked up like I had startled her. "Oh, yeah, long, but good." I asked, "What kept you?" She said, "Just grabbed drinks with a coworker after work." "Oh yeah? Who?" "Just Brad. You don't know him." "Brad." The way she said it was casual and easy. But she had never mentioned Brad before. She had never stayed out until 9:15 for drinks with a coworker before. And the way she looked away when she said his name, then changed the subject so quickly, told me more than her answer did. I said, "Cool. Sounds fun." I did not push. I did not ask follow-up questions. She looked relieved, and I let her feel relieved. Over the next 2 weeks, Brad came up 3 more times. Always vague, always connected to a late night. Brad and I had to stay late to prep for this weekend's conference. I ran into Brad and we grabbed coffee. Brad needed help with a vendor thing. Each time, I just nodded and did not react. I let her think I believed her. I kept documenting. Her phone was always face down now. Her passcode changed. She wore more makeup to work. We had less sex. She pulled away just enough that I could feel it, but not enough that she had to explain it. One night in late November, we went to Olivia's apartment for dinner with the friend group and their partners. I was quiet most of the night. Nora went to the bathroom, and Olivia leaned over to me with this knowing little smile. "You're so chill, Edward. I love that about you. Some guys would be so insecure with a girlfriend like Nora." I nodded and took a drink. "Yeah." Natasha laughed from across the table and said, "See, this is why it works. He knows his role." She said it like a joke, but it landed like a test. I gave her nothing. I just smiled slightly and went back to my food. But I clocked the wording. He knows his role. Like I was playing a part in a story they had already written. And when Nora came back, she did not correct them. She did not defend me. She just smiled and changed the subject to some story about work. Maeve was on her phone for most of dinner, but at one point she looked up and said, "Nora, you and Brad killed it on that conference last weekend. I saw the photos." My head snapped up. "So did Nora's." I asked, "What photos?" Maeve looked confused. "The ones on the company page. You guys were tagged together." Nora laughed too fast. "Oh yeah, those. Brad took a bunch of setup shots, probably just for the portfolio," Maeve said. "You two looked really good together," Nora said. "He's a good work partner." The exchange took maybe 30 seconds, but it confirmed what I already knew. Her friends knew. Maybe not every detail, but they knew enough. I saw the way Olivia and Natasha exchanged a look. I saw how quickly Nora tried to smooth it over. That night, when we got home, Nora was in a good mood. She was more affectionate than she had been in weeks. She told me her friends liked me, that she was lucky to have me, that she loved how steady I was. I told her I had a headache and went to bed early. Then I lay there in the dark, thinking about everyone. The late nights. Brad. The friend group's comments. Maeve mentioning photos. Nora's face when Brad's name came up. And I realized I had two choices. I could confront her right then, with nothing but suspicion, and watch her gaslight me. Or I could wait, document everything, get real proof, and make my move when she had nowhere to hide. I chose to wait. 2 weeks before Christmas, I was at work finishing up a design presentation when my phone buzzed. It was an Instagram message from a woman I did not know. Her name was Ashley. The message said, "We need to talk about Brad and your girlfriend." I stared at those words for a solid 2 minutes. My hands went cold. When I opened the message, there were already more waiting. "I'm Brad's fiancé." I found messages between him and Nora on his laptop. A lot of them. "I'm sending you everything because you deserve to know what's happening. I found you because Nora tagged you on her page last year." Then the screenshots started coming through, one after another. 20, 30, 40. I had to put my phone down and walk to the bathroom because my body felt like it was trying to shut off. When I got back to my desk, I opened the messages again and started scrolling. The first few were flirty, but almost innocent. Brad complimenting Nora's outfit. Nora saying he looked good at the conference. Inside jokes about coworkers. Then they got worse. Brad wrote, "I can't stop thinking about last night." Nora replied, "Me either. When can we do that again?" Brad said, "My place tomorrow. Ashley's working late." Nora answered, "Perfect. I'll tell Edward I have a client dinner." I felt sick. I closed my eyes and forced myself to breathe through it. Then I kept scrolling. The messages went back 4 months, all the way into September. There were photos too. Nothing explicit, but enough. Nora in his apartment. Nora and Brad at a restaurant I had never heard of. Nora in a dress I recognized. The same dress she told me she had worn to a work function I could not attend. Then I got to the message that made everything inside me go quiet. Brad had texted her one night in early November. "Does your boyfriend know about us?" Nora answered 3 minutes later. "He's clueless. Honestly, he's just safe at this point. Like a roommate who pays half the bills. I need someone who actually excites me, Brad wrote. "So why not just leave him then?" Nora replied. "Because he's stable. He's not going anywhere. And I'm not giving up security for fun. I can have both." I read that message 3 times. Then 4. Then 5. I was not her partner. I was her safety net. Her boring backup plan. A roommate who paid half the bills. "He's not going anywhere. I can have both." Ashley kept sending more. A video of Nora and Brad kissing outside his building, time-stamped 3 nights earlier. Location data from Brad's phone showing Nora at his apartment. Times and dates that matched perfectly with the late nights I had been documenting. Every single one. There was even a voice memo. And when I pressed play, I heard Nora's voice. "I don't know. I feel bad sometimes, but Edward's sweet. He's just boring. We do the same thing every night. Same restaurants, same conversations. Brad makes me feel alive, like I'm 25 again. I'll deal with Edward eventually. Just not now. I'm not ready to give up what we have." Eventually. Like I was a problem she would handle when it became convenient. Ashley's last message came through. "I'm leaving him tonight. Packing my stuff as we speak. Thought you should have the option to do the same. Sorry you're going through this. No one deserves this." I did not respond right away. I just sat at my desk, saved all my work, and told my boss I needed to leave early for a personal emergency. I drove home in complete silence. No music, no calls, no anger, not yet. Just silence. I pulled into our parking garage and sat in my car for 20 minutes. I screenshotted everything Ashley sent and backed it up everywhere I could think of. Then I went upstairs. Nora was in the shower. I could hear the water running. I could hear her singing. I sat on the couch and waited. 10 minutes later, she walked into the living room in a towel, smiling like nothing in the world was wrong. "Hey babe, how was work?" I looked at her and said, "We need to talk." Her face changed immediately. She sat down, leaving distance between us. "About what?" I handed her my phone with the screenshots open. She started scrolling. Her hands shook. Her face went pale. By the 10th screenshot, she was not even really reading anymore. "Edward, this isn't what it looks like." I waited. She kept going. "Okay, yes, Brad and I have been talking, but nothing physical happened. These messages are just... We were joking around." I stared at her. "Okay, fine," she said. "We kissed a few times, but that's it." I was confused. I made a mistake. I still did not respond. "Edward, please say something," I said. "We're done. You're not staying here tonight." She froze. "What?" "You need to leave. Pack what you can carry. You can't just kick me out. This is my place too. The lease is in my name. You're not on it. It has been that way since we moved in because your credit was bad. Remember? You can go to Olivia's." Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again. "You're overreacting. Let me explain." "No. If you refuse to leave, I'll call building security, then the police if I have to." "Your choice," she said. "This is emotional abuse. You're trying to punish me." I stood up, walked to the bedroom, and started pulling her clothes out of the closet. I threw them on the bed and grabbed a bag. She followed me, talking and crying and trying to explain. "You're being controlling right now." I did not answer. I just kept packing. "Edward, please. I love you. I made a mistake, but we can fix this." I stopped and turned to look at her. "You called me a roommate who pays bills. You told him I was boring and safe and that you would deal with me eventually. That is not a mistake. That is who you are." "I didn't mean it." "Yes, you did." I handed her the bag. "You can get the rest this weekend with supervision. I'll schedule a time right now. You need to leave." She started crying harder. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Call your friends." She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and started typing in the group chat. Within 2 minutes, all 3 of them were responding. Natasha said she would pick her up. Olivia said Nora could stay with her. Nora looked at me and said, "They're on their way." I said, "Good. Wait downstairs. Can I please just stay until they get here? It's cold outside." "Lobby, now." She grabbed the bag and walked toward the door, then stopped and turned around. "You're really going to throw away our relationship over this?" I said. "You already did that. I'm just cleaning up." The door buzzer rang. Her ride was there. She looked at me one more time, waiting for me to change my mind. I opened the door and stepped aside. She walked out without another word. I closed the door, locked it, and put the chain on. Then I called a locksmith and scheduled them to come first thing in the morning. I also texted the building manager and told them Nora no longer had access to my apartment. Around 10 that night, my phone started blowing up from a new number. It had to be Nora. Please, can we just talk about this? I know I messed up, but you're not perfect either. You're really going to destroy our relationship over one mistake? This is so typical. Men always overreact. I did not respond. I screenshotted everything, added it to my evidence folder, and blocked the number. 20 minutes later, another number. Same kind of messages. I blocked that too. By midnight, I had 5 different numbers blocked. Then Olivia texted me from her number. Edward, I think you're making a huge mistake. Nora loves you. She's devastated. Can you please just talk to her? I replied with one screenshot, the one where Nora called me a roommate who paid half the bills. Olivia did not respond. I blocked her too. Then Natasha. Then Maeve. Then everyone connected to that group. I deleted the whole group chat and erased them from my contacts. The fallout started the next morning. I woke up to my phone buzzing with notifications. Maeve had posted a vague story at 3 in the morning, white text on a black background. Some people would rather punish than forgive. Normalize grace and growth. No names, nothing specific, but anyone who knew us would know what she meant. By 9 in the morning, it had around 200 views and 30 replies. I did not engage. I just watched it happen. Olivia started the real narrative that afternoon. She texted a few mutual friends, people Nora and I had hung out with as a couple, and gave them her version of events. I know because Connor, a guy I had known since college, called me around 2. Hey man, I heard about you and Nora. That's rough. I said. Yeah. He hesitated. Olivia said, things got pretty heated. That you kicked Nora out in the middle of the night without letting her explain. I said, that's one way to describe it. He continued, she also said Nora was trying to work on things and you just shut her out completely. I asked, Connor, did Olivia mention why I kicked her out? There was silence on the other end. She said there was a misunderstanding about some texts with a coworker. A misunderstanding? Yeah, that's how she put it, I said. That's what she called 4 months of Nora sleeping with another guy while telling him I was boring and safe and that she would deal with me eventually. More silence. Then Connor said, she actually said that? I've got screenshots if you want to see them. No, man. I believe you. That's messed up. I'm sorry. Olivia made it sound like you were overreacting to nothing, I said. That's the version they're selling. I just wanted you to know the real one. We hung up. I did not send him the screenshots because I did not need to, but not everyone called to hear my side. Some people just quietly started acting different, colder, more distant. For the next few weeks, the cycle repeated. Vague posts about healing and moving forward. Rumor texts from new numbers trying to bait me into responding. I would block one number, and another would pop up the next day. The messages always followed the same pattern. First, apologetic. I know you're angry, but we can work through this. Then deflecting. I made a mistake, but you're not perfect either. Remember when you forgot my birthday dinner last year? Then manipulative. Your friends think you're overreacting too. Connor told Olivia, you're being dramatic. That last one was a lie. Connor had literally called me to get the real story. Then, the mask came off completely. Good luck finding someone who puts up with your boring routine. I could have anyone. You know that, right? I settled for you and you're acting like I'm the one who should be grateful. I screenshotted everything, sent copies to my close friends as insurance, and blocked each number without responding. By week 3, the direct messages slowed down, but the social media campaign ramped up instead. Mave posted therapy speak captions about women making mistakes and not being punished forever. Olivia posted throwback photos with captions about loyalty, saying real ones stick around when things get hard. Natasha posted vague memes about toxic masculinity and fragile egos. I got a few unfollows. Some people stopped liking my posts. I did not fight it. I just went quiet on social media. Then they went after my job. One morning, I got a calendar invite from HR titled, Quick Check-In. No details, no context. I knew what it was before I walked into the room. The HR rep was professional and calm. She gave me the whole, this is just protocol, opening before getting to the point. We received some concerns from an external party, allegations that you have been harassing an ex-partner, locking them out of shared property, engaging in threatening behavior, and demonstrating controlling conduct. We're required to document these kinds of reports. I did not react. I just sat there and let her finish. Then she asked, "Do you have anything you'd like to share about this situation?" I said, "I have documentation. All of it." I pulled out my phone, opened my evidence folder, and showed her three things. First, Ashley's initial message, timestamped, where she told me about the affair and sent proof. Second, Nora's own message calling me a roommate who paid half the bills and saying she could have both security and fun. Third, a sample of Nora's harassment from 5 different phone numbers, all blocked, all contacting me after I had made it clear we were done, along with Olivia's text trying to guilt me into talking to Nora. The HR rep's expression changed as she scrolled. She said, "Thank you for providing context. This is helpful. I'll need to document this and get back to you with next steps." I said, "Understood," she added. "In the meantime, I'd advise you not to engage with this person further and to continue documenting if the contact continues," I said, already doing both. A few days later, I got an email. Report closed. No action needed on my end. I texted Connor and told him, "If anyone asks, I'm fine. If anyone pushes a story, I'm not debating it." They had tried to poison my reputation at work and failed. But something else was bothering me. The timing, they seemed to know certain plans, even when I had not posted anything. I decided to test it. I had drinks planned for Thursday night, so I told 3 different people, 3 different locations. I told Connor I would be at a quiet coffee spot across town. I told Roman I would be at a new brewery downtown called Ironside. And I told Derek, a guy I had met a few times through Nora at her work events, that I would be at a sports bar near the stadium. I only went to one place, the quiet coffee spot with Connor. Around 8:30, my phone buzzed. It was Roman. "Bro, guess who just walked in here filming?" There it was, Ironside, the location only Roman had been given. Except Roman was not connected to Nora, which meant Derek had gotten it from him or pressured it out of someone. Either way, Derek was feeding them information. I finished my coffee with Connor, drove home, waited until 10, and texted Derek. 3 different plans, 3 different people. They went to the one location only you knew. Lose my number. Then I blocked him before he could respond. After that, the random encounters stopped. 2 months later, my 15-year high school reunion came up. I almost did not go, but a couple of friends convinced me it would be good to get out. So I said yes. I had no idea that decision would change everything. I showed up late on purpose, grabbed a drink from the bar, and stood near the name tag table. 2 women from our class were talking near me. I did not mean to eavesdrop, but they were not being quiet. One asked, "Is Melody coming?" The other said, "I don't know. She's so busy now. Did you see her last campaign?" "I know. She's literally a model, like an actual model, not an Instagram model. Real magazine covers." I remembered Melody. Melody Torres. Tall, composed, naturally cool, in a way that never felt forced. We had classes together. We were friendly, but never close. I had not thought about her in years. One of the women said, "I heard she's single." The other laughed. "Please. Melody is probably dating an actor or something." They moved on, and I stayed at the bar. A little later, the conversations in the room seemed to dip for a second. I looked toward the entrance, and there she was. Melody walked in with perfect posture, her face calm and neutral but somehow warm. She scanned the room, and for 1 second, her eyes landed on me. Something changed. Her breath caught. Her hand tightened around her phone. Her smile started too early, like she could not stop it in time. Then she blinked and reset her expression. I noticed. I did not react. She moved through the room, greeting people, but I could feel her tracking me. Not in an obvious way, just aware. About 20 minutes later, she made her way over. She smiled and said, "Edward, it's been forever." I said, "Melody, yeah, long time." We talked and caught up on the basics, what we had been doing, where we had ended up, how life had moved. But she kept doing this thing where she remembered oddly specific details about me from high school. "You used to bring those homemade lunches, right? Your mom made the best sandwiches. You were in that design elective junior year. You built that lamp thing." Little details too precise to be casual. And every time she said my name, she said it softly. Then, someone nearby mentioned Nora, just in passing, as part of some old story about prom. And Melody's whole face changed. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes went sharp. Then she smoothed it away and changed the subject. Later that night, I was outside getting air when I saw Nora's crew huddled near the photo booth inside. Through the window, I could see them watching Melody. Olivia was talking fast, animated. Natasha had her phone out. Maeve was nodding along. I stayed outside. Then the door opened and Natasha walked out with her phone in her hand. She saw me and smiled like she had been hoping to. Edward. Wow. Didn't know you'd be here, I said. Yeah. She glanced back inside, where Melody was visible. So, Melody Torres. That's interesting. I did not respond. Natasha's smile sharpened. Is she still doing the whole crush thing? Or did she finally move on? I looked at her. What? Her smile got wider. Oh, come on. Everyone knew. She used to stare at you in like every class. It was kind of sad, honestly. She said it in that mean, dismissive way she had, but she had just given me something she did not mean to give me. Then she lifted her phone like she was just casually filming the air. Anyway, just grabbing some fresh air. You know how it is. She went back inside. I stood there processing what she had said. Melody had a crush on me in high school. Not a tiny casual thing either. Apparently enough that people noticed. I looked through the window. Melody was still talking to the same group, professional and composed. I went back inside, waited for a natural break in her conversation, walked over, and said, Hey, do you want to grab coffee sometime? Catch up properly? She turned toward me, and that mask slipped again for half a second. Then she smiled for real. Yeah, I'd like that. Melody and I started messaging after the reunion. At first, it was normal catching up stuff, but it shifted quickly into something more. She was in Milan working on a campaign, so we did FaceTime calls almost every night. During those calls, I learned more about her life. The travel, the photo shoots, the industry grind, the strange loneliness of being surrounded by people, but rarely being rooted anywhere. I also learned the normal things. What she liked to eat when she was exhausted, what movies she watched on long flights, how she took her coffee, the songs she played when she could not sleep. She was real in a way Nora never was. No performance, no tests, no games. But it was not all effortless. One night, we had plans to FaceTime, and she canceled last minute because her flight had been delayed coming back from a shoot in Tokyo. When she finally called 3 hours later, she sounded drained. Sorry, she said. I hate this part. The constant moving, never knowing what day it is. I said, It's fine. Are you okay? She said, Just tired. Sometimes I feel like I'm living out of a suitcase, and everyone only sees the highlight reel. Another time, we were talking about dating, and she admitted something that surprised me. She got quiet and said, You know what's weird? People assume because of what I do that I'm confident about everything, but I'm not. I worry that guys only see the model thing, that they don't actually care about me. I told her, I don't see you that way. She smiled softly and said, I know. That's why I like talking to you. After a few weeks, I asked her straight up, What are we doing here? She laughed and said, I don't know. What do you want to be doing? I said, I want you to be my girlfriend. She did not hesitate. Okay. Yeah, I want that too. Long distance was hard. I will not lie about that. But with Melody, it felt different. We made it work. I visited her when I could. She came back to the States between jobs. 3 months in, I flew to Brussels to see her while she was working on a campaign there. She had a few days between shoots and took me to set one day so I could watch her work. I took some behind-the-scenes photos during the shoot. Melody laughing with the crew, checking the monitor, standing in a coat between setups, small, real moments that felt more like her than the polished final images ever could. Without thinking much about it, I posted a few to my Instagram close friends story, and that was when everything escalated. Nora was still on my close friends list. I had forgotten to remove her. 2 hours after I posted, my phone started blowing up from a number I did not recognize. Who is that? Are you serious right now? You're dating Melody? I did not respond. I blocked the number. Then one of our mutual friends messaged me. Hey man, Nora's losing it. Thought you should know. I did not care. I blocked that too. But then, the real campaign started. Maeve created fake accounts and began commenting on Melody's posts. Nothing direct enough to look like obvious harassment at first, just subtle digs. Must be nice to have everything handed to you. Some girls always need attention. That kind of thing. Melody noticed and showed me. I told her to ignore it, but one of the fake accounts slipped up and posted something too direct about stealing other people's boyfriends, then deleted it within an hour. I screenshotted it before it disappeared. Olivia started reaching out to mutual friends with a new version of the story. According to her, I had left Nora for Melody. I had been cheating. I was the villain. Natasha tried to organize a coincidental run-in by showing up at a restaurant she knew I would be at with Melody, trying to film us. I saw her, told the host, and they asked her to leave. Then Nora tried a different approach. She started sending gifts to my apartment. Flowers, notes, Little reminders of our relationship, messages about how we were meant to be together, how she had made a mistake, but I was making a bigger one. I threw everything away. I did not respond. I did not engage. But her friend trio was not done. They found out Melody and Nora had gone to the same high school, and suddenly the narrative shifted. Now it was not just about me. It was about old jealousy. Maeve posted a throwback photo from high school with a caption about fake friends and snakes, tagging people who would understand it was about Melody. I noticed Melody getting quieter after that. Fewer posts, less engagement, more hesitation before opening her phone. Olivia started spreading rumors that Melody had always been obsessed with stealing attention. Natasha reached out to brands Melody had worked with, sending concerned fan messages to try to create problems. Then, it actually started working. Melody got an email from a skincare brand she had recently done a campaign with. It was professional and polite, but the subtext was clear. They had received messages from followers expressing concern about controversy surrounding her, and they wanted context so they could address it with their team. She showed me the email, and I could see the anxiety building behind her eyes. "This is what I was worried about," she said. "My whole career can shift based on perception. One rumor gets traction, and suddenly brands don't want to risk it." I asked, "What are you going to say?" She pulled up her response before sending it. She wrote that she was dealing with a targeted harassment campaign from her boyfriend's ex and the ex's friends, including fake accounts and false allegations. She said she had documented everything and involved the appropriate parties, and that if the brand wanted to review evidence, she would provide it. Otherwise, she trusted them to handle unsubstantiated claims professionally. She signed it and sent it without hesitation. Then she looked at me and said, "I've dealt with worse. People try this in the industry all the time. You just have to call it what it is." The brand backed off immediately, but that night she called me, and I could hear exhaustion in her voice. "I need you to handle this clean," she said. "I won't live under her shadow. Either she stops, or we make her stop. But I'm not spending my career looking over my shoulder." I said, "I'll handle it." She said, "Good." That was when Ashley reached out again. She messaged me on Instagram. "Hey, Edward. I heard through mutual friends that Nora is still causing problems. I have more messages between her and Brad if you need them. She's been texting him again, trying to reconnect. Thought you should know she's telling people you two had a mutual breakup, and that she's the one who ended it." I showed Melody. She looked tired and asked, "Does it ever stop?" I said, "It will." But honestly, I was starting to wonder if I needed to force that ending. 6 months after the reunion, Melody had a campaign launch event in the city. It was a big deal. Industry people, press, brand reps, photographers. The kind of event where reputation mattered. She invited me as her plus one. I almost said no because I knew Nora would somehow find out. But then I realized I was not going to let Nora control my life. So we went together. Halfway through the night, I saw them. Nora, Olivia, Natasha, and Maeve. All four of them. They had gotten in somehow. They were not on the list, but they had clearly talked their way past someone. I told Melody. Her body tensed, but her face stayed neutral. She asked, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Nothing. They're here for a reaction. We don't give them one." We stayed on the other side of the room, talked to people, and ignored them completely. But I could feel Nora's eyes on us. Then Natasha made her move. She walked right up to Melody with her phone out, already recording, and said, "So, Melody, how does it feel to be a homewrecker?" Melody did not flinch. She just looked at her and said, "You're going to want to leave." Natasha said, "I'm just asking a question." Then Nora stepped forward. Suddenly, she was right there in Melody's space, too close, her face tight with rage. "You always did this," Nora said. Her voice was shaking, not from nerves, but from fury. "Even in high school, you just exist, and everyone falls over themselves. You never had to try. You never had to work for anything. You just show up and people give you whatever you want." Melody's face stayed neutral, but I saw her jaw tighten. She said, "I don't know what you're talking about," Nora snapped. "Yes, you do. You made me feel invisible my entire life, and now you're doing it again." "You took everything from me," Melody said. "I didn't take anything from you." Nora's voice cracked. "You took him. You knew we were together. You knew. And you just swooped in like you always do." I stepped between them, calm and quiet. "We weren't together. You cheated." I left. That happened before Melody and I even talked. Nora's eyes snapped to me. "Because you were already thinking about her. You were just waiting for an excuse," I said. "You've got 5 seconds to walk away before I call security," Nora said. "You're being dramatic, Edward." There it was. Her phrase. the one she had used to dismiss me a dozen times. Except now she was the one spiraling in public. Natasha laughed nervously, still filming. You're not going to do anything. I pulled out my phone, called security, and did not break eye contact. Two men in suits arrived in under a minute. I explained the situation and showed them the harassment messages Melody had been getting from the fake accounts, the brand sabotage attempts, and the pattern of behavior. They escorted all four of them out. Nora tried to shout something on the way, but security shut it down fast. Natasha tried to keep filming, but they blocked her phone. The whole thing took maybe 3 minutes. After they left, Melody let out a long breath and said, "That was intense." I said, "They're done now." She asked, "How do you know?" I said, "Because Natasha just filmed security removing them for harassment. That's not the look they want. Maeve's brand is positivity. Olivia's whole thing is being the victim. This doesn't fit their narrative. They'll turn on each other before the week is out." I was right. 3 days later, Ashley messaged me again. "Thought you'd want to see this. Natasha sent these to Brad, trying to get him to talk sense into Nora. He showed me because he's finally done with all of them. Figured you could use the ammunition." Attached were screenshots from their group chat. They had planned the event crash. They had coordinated the fake accounts. Maeve had admitted she was scared it would hurt her image. Olivia had called me controlling. Nora had written that Melody stole her life and always got everything. I read through the screenshots twice. Then I did exactly two things. First, I sent them to my building manager with a note. "These are the people who have been harassing my girlfriend and attempting to gain unauthorized access to the building. Please flag them as no entry. Thanks." Second, I sent them to Connor with one line, in case Olivia tries the victim narrative again. That was it. No public post, no social media war, no dramatic revenge thread. Just the truth, sent to the people who needed it. The friend trio broke within 48 hours. Natasha panicked first. She deleted her posts and blamed Nora for dragging her into it. Maeve scrubbed her Instagram of anything related to the situation, posted some generic caption about choosing peace, and publicly distanced herself. Olivia doubled down alone, but by then nobody was really listening. Nora tried one more time. 2 weeks later, she showed up at my apartment building and buzzed up. She had been flagged, so the doorman called me instead of letting her in. I went downstairs, but I did not let her inside. I just stood in the lobby. She looked at me and said, "Edward, please, can we just talk?" I said, "No, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. You don't get to ask me for anything. You lost that about a year ago," she said. "I made a mistake." "People make mistakes," I said. "You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. Multiple choices. For months, while calling me boring and safe to the guy you were sleeping with. That's not a mistake. That's who you are." She shook her head. "That's not fair," I said. "You're right. It's not fair to me. But I'm done caring about what's fair to you. You need to leave." Her face twisted. "You're really going to choose her over me?" I said. "I'm not choosing anyone over you. I'm choosing me over you. There's a difference." She started crying, but I only felt relief. Then her face changed. The tears stopped, and something harder came through. "We could have been great," she said. "You know that, right? If you had just been more exciting, more ambitious. If you had given me a reason to stay interested. This is partially on you." There it was. Even at the end, she was still blaming me. Her face went white when she heard her own words thrown back at her, the same dismissive phrase she had used on me so many times. I said, "Don't contact me again. Don't show up here. Don't send your friends. You're done having access to my life." Then I walked back inside and did not look back. She stood there for a minute, then left. Melody and I are still together. Long distance is hard. Industry pressure is real. But what we have is real in a way that matters. She does not play games. She does not need me to be small so she can feel big. When she is stressed about a shoot, she tells me. When I have a rough deadline, she understands. We handle things like partners instead of opponents. Nora was right about one thing. I will never find someone like her again. And I am grateful for that every single day. People sometimes ask if I regret how I handled it. They ask if I should have fought harder, forgiven her, or given her another chance. My answer is always the same. You cannot fight for someone who has already decided you are not worth keeping. And you cannot forgive someone who is not actually sorry. They are just sorry they got caught. I have no regrets, just lessons learned, a cleaner life, and a future that is better because she is no longer in it.